I was sweating bullets. It's like, so is this the end? Is this the end for us? That we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do.
So you want to tell the next event? Let's call it the next event.
Okay, so we were with the caravan that Bob had, and that was
Uh-huh.
Randy, the mobile traveler. We had finished. We were at the last place there in Pomosa Road. So S&S was heading to Blue Water Casino, and we were going to meet up with them. Well, while we
Mm-hmm.
were with the caravan, we needed to do the brakes. So the
Mm-hmm.
brakes got done, the tires got put on, S&S took off. We took off, headed up 95 up to Parker to meet up with them. We got 7 miles from Pomosa Road. The driver's side first tire dropped in the middle of the highway. The second one came off, went across the street, down the side of the street, and crossed in front of us. And Homer had to take that tire or that RV and get it to the side of the road and get it off the road. And when he did, um, he was white knuckling and he got it, the driver's side tire, to the other side of the white line. When State Patrol came out and seen it, and he said, "You're very lucky. When we got this call, we figured you were going to flip. If you would have flipped it, it would have killed me because it would have went down on my side because he had to go to the right side."
Mm-hmm.
But thank God we had angels that day watching over us.
You
So
did.
that's when we had our first $1,000 towing, 7 miles back to Mosa Road. And that's when we start getting in touch with all the tribe members. At that time, Cherokee went by. He's pulling a trailer. He can't pull over. He has to go up, turn around, and come back.
Sure.
So we got the towing. At that time, we had a car. We also had a car dolly. Tow trucks will not tow you if you have a car dolly. We had to leave it there. If you're going to have a car dolly, you have to be able to have a way of pulling it on your car. So we had to deal with that. So we had to find somebody to come get the car dolly, even though we were being, towed back to Pomosa Road. And then
Mm-hmm.
Homer had to deal with fixing all that because when the tire came off, the lug nuts are gone. The whatever those things that the lug nut goes on, those were all
Uh,
destroyed.
oh.
So I think whatever is around the brakes had to be replaced too. It's lucky Cherokee had a friend in California that had a wrecking yard that we were able to get stuff for $100. So Homer put it all back together. And then we met up with S&S up there, and they got up there to the Blue Water Casino. They just got parked. They dropped a tire off of their fifth wheel. So, and this is April Fool's Day. This is
Oh.
so foolish. This is April Fool's Day. So every April Fool's, I count my blessing that I am still alive and that we're still on the road.
Yes. Well, ironically, my parents got married on April Fools. I mean, why
Oh,
they did that, I have no idea. But yeah,
Experience.
I can imagine. Did that frighten you to the point that you might have thought, I'm not willing to do this anymore. I am frightened. This scares me. I very well could have been dead today.
at that point, no. No, it was just something else you had to deal with.
Okay.
So we grabbed the tires. One went in the back seat. The other one went on top of the car rack, and we drove back to catch up with the tow truck and told
Yeah.
them where to, drop it and all that. So um, we just dealt with it. You
Uh-huh.
just have to deal with it, blowing a tire, wheel coming off, whatever. You have to deal with
There
that.
is a
You
system you can put on your tires to monitor
Yes.
the
Hmm.
situation with the tires is about make sure you have some kind of fund. Doesn't mean $1,000 tow bill. You had to have a
Yes.
thousand dollars in order to get towed, right?
Yes.
That must have
That.
hurt bad.
Yeah, it happened that we had a line of credit, and I was able to do that, but it
Hmm.
took me a while to pay it down.
Sure.
Whether you have a credit card at $1,000, $5,000, you still have to pay that off plus the interest. So you have to have something or make some money on the road. That's your only other alternative to have cash somewhere
Uh huh.
for those emergencies.
Sure. Sure. I mean, obviously, and I know that there are. I was looking, and I know HOWA Homes on Wheels Alliance, which I'm gonna do a whole video on that. I'm gonna pull up here right now something to show you that might be useful to you at some point in time, even. HOWA is Homes on Wheels Alliance, and it is a nonprofit organization that helps people who are nomads on the road. And this particular fund, there's an emergency and tent fund for people. And because they talk here about how unexpected things happen to everybody. And there's a tent program for people who are living out of their car and maybe have a medical situation or other emergency. And so they loan out these Bob Wells has gone through a big series on these tents and what he uses. And then additionally to that, um, they have a e-fund program for people who are nomads actively living on the road and legally driving their home on wheels, titled, registered, and insured. And so they give right here what the scope of non examples of help are: non emergencies, repair costs beyond the value of a vehicle, request for funding to start life as a vehicle dweller, or expected costs. So they're talking here about what are some of the expected costs: loan payments, vehicle registration, tire replacements. So they're saying that we, at the very least, those living on the road need to be prepared for tire replacement, and that's one thing they won't help with. Battery replacements, brake jobs, tune-ups, and oil changes. So, and they do have a $1,500 lifetime award accumulator. So there is some help there. I'm going to put this resource at the bottom of the page. I'm going to talk about this in a different video more in depthly, but I did want to share that because I believe that's something that many people could absolutely use help with from time to time, and it's there for people. So, so what would you say has been your worst experience as a nomad on the road full time for 6 years?
Well, last year was blowing the head gaskets on the Class A.
Wow.
We were at a safe place. It happened
Mm-hmm.
on somebody's property, so we
Mm-hmm.
had to deal with that. For our situation, we have backup money, but I also have six children that can help us money wise if I need, money. And that's what happened last year. My
Okay.
my children helped us last year with the head gasket. Having to, everything we had to deal with that, taking it off. Now, this is the end of summer. So we're looking at August, September, monsoon, and October. And it was December 10th by the time we got out of Conso, Arizona, which is near
Snow on the
Solo.
ground.
So we are dealing with, yes, the monsoon. So you're ripping an engine apart with water underneath you,
Oh no.
on top of you, everything else. Then that gets done. Then comes the cold weather in September, October. So our first snow was October 23rd, and I only know that because that's my sister's birthday. So you're
Oh,
dealing with temperatures not in the 70s and 80s during the day. You're dealing with 50 and 60 during the day and 30s at night. So it's starting to drop here. Then So when you're tearing an engine apart, because our engine is half in the house under the doghouse,
Right.
if it's 32 outside, it's 32 in here. Coco and I
Yes.
stayed in bed where it was warm while
Good.
they were
Good thing.
tearing our engine apart.
Yep. So how long did it take? So you did you have to? Was there a big outlay at that time as well financially? I'm assuming that's not a cheap job, even though Homer is able. Homer, luckily, you're very lucky. You're married to somebody who is mechanically inclined person and is able to do so much of your stuff. Was he able to do the whole thing on his own, other than parts? You know,
No,
getting parts
no,
for it.
no, no. We had to find a mobile guy, and we found Glenn, and he's Homer's never torn an engine apart, but he helped Glenn take it apart piece by piece because you're starting inside and then you have to go outside to take the radiator out to get down to the head. I have all these pictures of first day, second day. This is starting in October, I believe. So
Mm-hmm.
it took 7 days to totally tear down um, um, the engine down to the head. Then you have
Wow.
to take the heads out to a shop to make sure they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was done. They were okay, so we didn't have to come up with $600 or $700 for a brand new head. But we had to get gaskets. We had to get tubing. I can't tell you everything, but we spent. I can't tell you how much we had exactly paid on it because we the first thing it started was the radiator, so we had to come up with money for the radiator. We got that, figured that was it. Then we blew the head gasket. So um, I don't, by the time we get done, you're looking between $3,000 and $5,000. I can't tell
Mm-hmm.
you whether we spent 3,000 or 5,000, but I mean it was several months that's instead of our gas money was going to fix the engine because we weren't going anywhere. So it and we knew a snowstorm was coming for um, December 11th. So by that time we were all back together. We still had tubing to get on, so we decided to head to court site. We took off. We went a back way towards Camper Van Kevin's property because the other way had a big hill and we didn't want to take a new engine on that hill. So we went around the other way and it was okay getting out the back area there in the property, but once we got on 60, it was acting up. But our mechanic, Glenn, our mechanic was close by that we stopped at Dollar General. He came, fixed it up, and I'm saying prayers that we're leaving that we don't have to turn around and go back to the property. So we just took off and prayed that we made it and we made it down there. But I mean, and on top of all that, we get down to court site, refrigerator stopped working.
Oh.
So you lose all that food in the refrigerator. I mean, before everything else, it started out with the injury that I got to my knee, then the radiator, then the head gasket. Steps stopped working. Refrigerator stopped working. In the midst of all this engine tearing down, the motor and the heater went out. That heats up inside here went out. So we had a buddy heater, yeah, but that doesn't heat it up here like you do in a small class C.
Right.
So I mean, it's just one thing after another that broke. So you start your list of what you have to do, and when we were coming up to meet up with Deb, that's when we had another tire blow. That was over $600 just to come out for two tires and putting them on. Um, so tires blowing on the way, radiator, just everything else I said, after that, it just started um, breaking. But it's like, okay, I can live without the steps. You can get steps to step out on. Um, Refrigerator, no, had to figure that out. Come to find out, it's the computer and the whatever it lights tells the computer to light it. Didn't work, so we got that fixed. We did that down in Quartzsite. That was $75 right there just for two parts. So we got the refrigerator back. It's just it doesn't matter whether it's blowing tires, blowing head gaskets, step not working,
Right.
refrigerator going out, heater going out. Winter, I think we did it. Down in Quartzsite, it doesn't get that cold, not like up here in the mountains. So
Mhm.
it was tolerable enough that we were staying warm. So
So it's clear to me that the fact is something's going to happen. And to be, nobody knows exactly what it's going to be. The common things are going to be things like a tire blowout, need to change out a battery, possibly, and keeping up on oil changes, those kind of normal things. But most,
yeah,
when you have so many things happen at once, like you guys had to happen to you, one thing right after another, I would have thought to myself, um, is this a good idea? Making sure that we can, do some basic things and then have something like you had a line of credit, you had some help from your kids. I do know also that the bigger the rig, the more things are expensive. Bob Wells, he's always
yeah,
said that, to make sure that if you're traveling with a car, let's just say someone has decided they're going to go in a car, they're not going to get an RV, they're going to be like Minivan Lee, for instance, who's in a minivan. To have at least like a $3,000 to $5,000 backstop if you're in a minivan or a car, anything like that, a van. If you're going to be in a Class C, about a $10,000 backstop, and if you're in a Class A,
hmm,
20,000, or maybe it was Camper Van Kevin, one of those two. I heard them talk about this,
yeah,
and now I'm not sure
yeah,
which one, but I heard one of my people that I trust talk about a 3 to 5,000, a 10,000, and a 20,000. That nothing with an RV specifically is cheap. And has that been your experience? That it's totally different than you blow out a tire on your car.
yeah, yeah. Because you'll have times where year or two nothing happens. We went back to Iowa to see where Homer grew up, and then
Oh,
went back to Washington. No problems, no blown tires. We did, in fact, we were in a Walmart parking lot changing the oil and air filter on our way back to Washington. So you have to do your maintenance of changing oil, spark plugs and stuff like that, air filter stuff. You have to do if you want to keep going. Courtside, because the heat's coming, and this year it seemed like we were there longer, so it didn't get hot so soon. So we were to April 15th. It's finally it's too hot. We need to head up into the mountains.
yeah.
So that's what we started to do.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we had no problems going up. So we just do what we do going up to camp, and we got up to Payson Lake, so we couldn't find any place to camp there. So we headed up to Solo, and that's where we start. This trail for the summer, and everything was going fine. No breakage. Things are going okay. Um, uh, then we ended up on Nomadic Fanatics property.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's when we were talking to our daughter about going to Washington to take care of her house while she's on vacation.
Right.
And she's in Europe now, but I'm not there watching her house because and also, we had our oldest daughter staying with us when we were in Quartzsite, all the way up until we started to leave um, solo to head to Washington. She went down with Felix back to Phoenix with Felix and that.
Oh,
So she's down there. We decide to take off that same day, and we get 21 miles from Eric, and then we overheat, and we spent on the side of Highway 77 with overheating and not, figuring because just before we left, we changed the water pump because we went
mhm.
to town to get propane and we overheated. So Homer figured it was the water pump. So we had to get a new water pump, get a lifetime guaranteed because if it blows again, you're gonna either gonna have to pay for a new one or lifetime guaranteed. It's covered. So we figured it was the water pump. So we figured, we get to up to here to Taylor to AutoZone to change the water pump, and we had Johnny Ringo come 5 hours down by um oh come on Tombstone, 5 hours to come help us. Come to find out, it's not the water pump; it was the hoses. So okay, so they get us hoses. They get us back on the road. Johnny goes home. Everybody else goes. So in the meantime, if they're talking, we need to do spark plugs. So we're 2 miles outside of Taylor, and luckily, when you break down, people in Arizona know. Check on these people. Do they have water? People were
Right.
stopping, giving us water, making sure we were okay. We had a lady give us her number just in case we needed help.
Uh-huh.
And somebody stopped that had Sam's business card that towed because when we were broke down, the first day for 5 hours, we have towing on our insurance. Nationwide couldn't find us a tow truck to get us either back to Eric or anything. So we're
And
stuck on the side of the road.
it's not like you were in the middle of nowhere either. I mean, that's what. So the
No,
one of the
no.
big reasons I'm doing this interview is because of this very situation right here. You're stuck on the side of the road in a not completely isolated area, and Nationwide is on our side. Could not get us or get you a tow.
A tow truck.
That shocks me. I really, that does shock me. They're a giant, giant insurance company. So what worried
But
me is
but wait,
you were
they
okay.
they found us a tow truck. I forgot about this from the other interview. They found us a tow truck. They said it would be 30 to 60 minutes. They would be in touch with me. 30 minutes. I couldn't wait anymore. I had a phone number. I called them. And what did I get? Sorry, you're too far away. We're not coming. And I'm saying, you don't know what I want to say, but I was saying, you son of a.